clerk will read out the names.
A very wonderful evening to you. Thank you for joining us here this great evening for Parliament and Governors who are in Benin City, Nigeria. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe. On the program this week, we want to take a look at an issue that has become a bit of not just concern, of course, serious concern to Nigerians, but it has also been very, very controversial. Some persons will tell you, well, it's a very technical issue. Others say it is extremely sensitive. That is the issue that has to do with the federal character. It's a principle, yes, we understand, but a lot of persons are now wondering, are we able to match the practice with the principle itself? What does he even say in the first instance? Amongst other things, it says appointments, for example, at the federal level should be spread across the geographical zones of this country, which also means that you're not supposed to have appointments tilted in such a way that you're appointing from just one part of the country, because these are very sensitive issues. But the question is, has that been the practice? What are the implications of not sticking with the federal character principle, especially when you look at a country like Nigeria, where you have a federal character commission? Yes, there is a commission that's supposed to ensure that. Is that commission working? How much of work is it doing? And how's that work impacting on the principle of federal character? I'm sure that concern is what spurred the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, to say, look, we cannot continue along this path, all right? We've got to create a disruption. Take a look at the Constitution. For example, he is saying the Constitution has made it clear that appointments must be spread across Nigeria, must be even though that's not the reality that we are looking at today. And he's also saying that given these realities, we must take a far deeper look at the federal character and see how we can match what he says with the realities that we're dealing with as a country and as a people. I'm joined by someone who is very passionate about issues that have to do with federal character, and he wants to share his thoughts with us on this week's edition of the program. Bishop Austin Igbasan, public affairs commentator, is on the program with us this week. Bishop, thank you for coming to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want us to look at federal character beyond appointments, even though we know appointments are very integral parts of the whole conversation about federal character. A lot of Nigerians are very agitated when it comes to federal character, when it comes to appointments, when it comes to issues that should benefit the overall interest of the country, regardless of your ethnicity or tribe, religion, or geographical location. What have been your thoughts over time? Have we always had issues with the federal character, the whole time?
One of the most important things that we must look at is the power that is given to a president, anybody that is a president of Nigeria. The power is so much, and it's so much. Like I always said, apart from God Almighty, the president of Nigeria in the whole wide world is the most powerful person, because he can look at you and say, I don't like your face. You can lose your job by just saying, I did not like the way you are looking. It might not be an offense, it might just be by his discretion, because the power given to that office is much. And when you look at this administration we find ourselves in now, so much executive power beyond the power that is given to the president. This particular president has asked for more executive power. That executive power 1, 2, 3, 4. So many power have been given to the president that the president, by the virtue of his power, can overlook the importance of federal character. And the painful part is that, in the real sense, the democracy is about the people. Now, it's the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And therefore, the people is mentioned 3 times in the definition of democracy. Leadership is not mentioned. It's talking about the people, the people, and the people. That is, everything that will happen, the people must have participation. It must be to the benefit of the people. the people must be at the front stage, not even the center stage of every policy. Every policy must be about the people. Now, coming to federal character, you now begin to ask yourself, okay, the president appoints anybody to be in that commission. Now, those people that are supposed to oppose the president will now be like a puppet. That whatever the president does, they won't see anything wrong about it. And come to National Assembly, there ought to also be a check and balance, wherein the president can be called to question. That is, if the Federal Character Commission decided to be docile, because they don't want to bite the finger that is feeding them, and they shifted their attention from their own legitimate assignment, then the job of the National Assembly, that is the oversight of everything that the executive is doing, that is, the executive can be called to question. Why were so persons appointed into so position? Why are people of so religion or so ethnic group are put in some position to the detriment of other part of Nigeria? Because we talk about the people, the minority, the majority, they are all about the people, and every policy must be by the people. So that is the essence of the federal character, because the federal character envisage those who design federal character envisage that a time will come that somebody can sit as president and decide to ignore the power or the duty or the activity or the law that governs federal character. That was why the commission was assigned, so that anybody that become president can be called to order, and every appointment must pass through there, so that it will spare the participation of every person. Now look at federal character. Some of the benefits of federal character is that, number one, it terminates what we call the winner take it all syndrome. That is, somebody win an election and decide to say, oh, because area A did not vote for me massively, I'm going to deny them of appointment. If you take the mic back, you see that our president said it in the first tenure, that how can you expect me to give appointment or do something for people who gave me 4% of their vote? The way I got 4%, did you want me to go and do something 50%, give 50% benefit to people that gave me 4%? And that is not federal character. That's against the spirit of federal character. Also, you look at it, federal character gives massive participation. That is, in the governance, there is massive participation.
The people that carry along.
Yeah, they are carrying along. That's one of the benefits of federal character. Number three, that it brings heavy competition. That this is healthy competition from every side. Now there will be competition for every by every tongue, every tribe. It will be a healthy one, not unhealthy competition. Everybody want to show up, bring out the best of them. So the system this produces the best. The best. Now also, it also deleted unnecessary rivalry. The rivalry that comes with we are born to rule syndrome. The person in this country said we are born to rule. Either we have a certificate, we don't have a certificate, we are born to rule. But federal character erase such mindset that you are born to rule. All of us are born to rule, and that is why we all be carried along. Also, one of the benefits of federal character is that, you know, it inspires everybody to aspire high. That everybody from every locality, we want to aspire. We want to make sure that from police force, this our local government will be able to get somebody that will be ready to be an inspector general of police. Everybody will aspire high. It will make everybody know. You know, in some establishment now, people believe that there is only a part of Nigeria that can reach the peak of their career. Other persons will be given massive retirement, so that one person from one region will be given such appointment, which is against the spirit of federal character. Also, federal character will put an end to mediocrity, and it will enhance meritocracy. That is where you have, it will be by merit. Now it will not be mediocrity. So don't bring a mediocre because it is meant for one part of Nigeria. Don't bring a mediocre to come and be on top of people. That it will be by merit. You see that merit will be the order of the day. If the federal character spirit is speaking, there will be merit, because everybody will want to bring out the best people. You are not going to bring the worst from your tribe, because you know that the position is going to be by merit. So every area, every part of Nigeria, every part of the ethnic group, we want to make sure, even some persons, we even do their best to make sure there is scholarship for some persons to get to some level. Some community will gather money to be able to raise even the children of the poor, so that because they knew that this one is there's prospect in this child for the future. Also, it presents equal opportunity to all. federal character give equal opportunity to all. That somebody will say, oh, being a Yoruba man, I can be a chief of army staff. Being an Ishekiri man, I can aspire to be the chief of navy staff. I can aspire to be an inspector general police. It will be equal opportunity. And when you see, it gives us sense of belonging. Sense of belonging to all. Federal character gives sense of belonging. That is, this country belongs to all of us.
I'm a stakeholder.
Yes, that is, I want it will also glue us together and enhance our unity. What we have in Nigeria is union. We don't have unity. So when we practice federal character, it brings unity. I give you an example. Security service chief. Let's imagine that all the appointments go from one side of Nigeria, and you have everything spread across. Not that we come to security meeting and people are speaking only one language, and the two other persons who are not from that tribe, among the 27, they don't know what other people are saying. Now, if you spread it across, you will see that if somebody from Okwale know that somebody from our local government is the inspector general police, it will also enhance our security, because people will know that I'm a stakeholder. I can't spoil this country. I can't contribute to something that will make sure that this country is not going forward, because they see that there's a sense of belonging. Everybody has equal right, and all of us are stakeholders. When people know that federal character is there, I can enter university and all of us have the same mark to enter university. Not that you give some people undue advantage over others. Oh, I can be promoted not because of where I came from, but because this is federal character. Everything is by merit. You see that even the security British we are having today, many people felt that what is our portion in Israel? What is to your tent, oh Israel? What portion do we have in JC? So if federal character is really practiced, you see that it will enhance security. That many people who go into crime would decide to say, no, what do I gain from crime? I'm a stakeholder in this, and I have a future. Many people are in civil service today now who believe that they cannot become a director in federal civil service because they are not from one religion, they are not from one part of Nigeria. So it will help us deal with corruption, not by arresting people. When somebody knows that this country is made for some group of people and I cannot get to the peak of my career, that person will begin to loot in that seat is occupying. But if he knows, maybe somebody in custom know that I am a potential controller general of custom in the future, not that one tribe is going to come and override me and they put me off, that person will meticulously and prudently use the resources of the government, and it will deal with corruption if federal character is
there's something I want to ask you quickly before we talk about a few other things. The issue of federal character commission. I mean, we're talking about the federal character principle, for example, and then you have a commission that squarely should deal with this issue, address the issue of the principles, and where there are breaches, for example, where there's absence of compliance, this commission should step up and address such issues. In an ideal situation, that's what it should be. But that's not what we're having now, is it?
The question is that insincerity. People are not sincere. And I give you an example. One of the first appointment of President Muhammadu Buhari, when he came for the first time, is the appointment of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, which is against, even from there you expected federal character commission to come on board, because it is said that the president must not come from the same area, so that the man who is heading INEC will be an unbiased empire. But check the history of INEC to date. This is the only government that has made a man that is a northerner to be an umpire when a northerner president is on seat. Let's check it again from 1999. In 1999, it was Justice Efeolu Bakpata of blessed memory, and he conducted the election. Former President Obasanjo came on board, and former President Obasanjo also brought in another Benin man, Dr. Ebel Gobalia, was brought on board after Obasanjo is a Yoruba man, Ebel Gobalia is a Benin man, and when he was rounding up, Professor Iwu was brought on board, who is an Igbo man. Now he comes on board to conduct the election that brought late Yaradua. He's an Igbo man. The man who appointed him is a Yoruba man. He didn't pick a Yoruba man to come and be an INEC chairman for his own interest. Now, and when he was going, in the time of Jonathan decided to go and bring a man who is a northerner that he has never met. Jonathan did not bring a politician on board. It was somebody that nominated and said this guy was an ASUU chairman during his time. That was why he led the protest against the military government and all that. This is a viable material. They met for the first time. Not even, they not met themselves. They met for the first time. The man appointed him as the chairman of INEC. But when it comes to President Muhammadu Buhari, he has to pick an Hausa man. Has to pick a man from the north to be, and Federal Character Commission who is supposed to stop him and summon him. They have not done that. Today I just talk about INEC. The man has just been renewed again to do another second term. Now take your mind back to NNPC. All the appointments in NNPC, the head of subsidiary, where are they from? Now you now want the people who have the oil in their land. You want the place to be secure. You don't want people. You want people to feel that they are in the same country. When there is a law that go about this appointment. Now I give you an example again of all the security service chiefs to that of 27. We have only 2 who are from no other tribe. The CDS, that is a political position. The power of the CDS is subject to chief of army staff because it's a political position, and the other chief of naval staff who is a Calabar man. Today the rest other person are from one part of Nigeria, one religion, and then you ask yourself, what is the Federal Character Commission doing? What were they mandated? Why are they paying them? Have you seen them question any appointment of Mr. President? Now even when the National Assembly question EFCC from beginning to today, it has been Northerner that head EFCC. You have not seen any other person that is not a Northerner that head EFCC. Now the question is that the Federal Character Commission, they are docile and they are not doing any work, because even in this present administration, a lot of infraction about the appointment. I give you an example. Dakuku Peter Side was removed at DG by Nimasa, and another Fulani man was brought on board. The DG of NIA, Ambassador Oke, was removed because of that story of Ikoyi dollar stuff. Another Fulani man was brought on board. Matthew Seyefa, after Mama Dara was fired as DDSSS because of what happened in National Assembly when they went with gun and all the rest of them, that the acting president at that time fired him and appointed the most senior person, Matthew Seyefa, who was in the Institute of Security in Buhari. They brought him on board. But as soon as the president came back, he went to bring Bichi. Bichi was just retired from SSS as one of the director of finance and admin. They went to bring him in retirement, and Matthew Seyefa was fired and he was sent home unceremoniously. And somebody for retirement was brought in who is also a Northerner. If you look at the statistics, look at the story of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. You can look at the Osigabuyaya network, that how Onoye was changed out of the something, because they were afraid that Onoye might not support what happened in 2019 election. So Onoye had to be eased out. And it is painful to me and shameful that Nigerian Bar Association, who are supposed to be also a check to these excesses of this federal government, they stay aloof. And if you
but then again, Bishop, if you look at the case of one again, the CCB, that's the Code of Conduct Bureau, actually tribunal, the CCT, had found him culpable. In fact, there were evidences, pieces of evidence that indicted him as well, as far as assets declaration was concerned. So that was basis enough to then the exit.
My question to you is that how many, even including our sitting president today, where is the asset declaration form? Who has perused his asset declaration? What of vice president? Who has perused it? How many of the ministers that are sitting in the federal executive cabinet with our president today that have declared their asset? Now, what is the hurry? What is the hurry? Even when UK and US, everybody was talking about this is not going to make the election credible, and everybody brought their input. These are nations that are ahead of us. No matter what you talk about, interests of them in our country, but they are ahead of us, and they are more vast. They have experience more than us. UK colonized us, for God's sake. So what the haste in which Onoye was removed? Have they applied the haste for all the people that are seated today? We have the same organization that brought the CCB that brought the asset declaration form. Other organ went to request for other people like Fashola, Rotimi Amechi, and all of them. They said they are not making the document available. But Onoye own is a public document. The rest other person in the whole world is not a public document. Who is the civil?
We're going to take a break now, Bishop. I can see you have so much you want to deliver on this discussion, but we're taking a quick break. We're back shortly. Stay with us. Well, thank you everyone for staying with us. Bishop, as we wrap up now, I just want to ask this. There's the part where the Speaker of the House of Representatives says that we need to expand the law in such a way that it can address all of these issues, all of these infractions that we see regarding the federal character principle. Now there's constitutional review going on. Will that address all of these many issues regarding federal character principle?
Now, one of the things, I believe that there are things we can do, because that measure is a long-time measure. Right. There are measures that can be taken immediately. Yes, immediately. Now the National Assembly can summon the Federal Character Commission, their board member, and the entire management, and bring them on board. The National Assembly themselves have never questioned all the authority of Mr. President. For all the infractions and all this appointment, National Assembly has not summoned the president to stand before them. So I don't have a belief in adjustment or adding more to the law or expanding our law. What I want the National Assembly to do is, by now, with all the NSAS wahala, I expected them to summon the president, not by smiling and asking what is the rationale of choosing security service chiefs that are from one region in Nigeria. They should be able to question that this is what the law says. So I don't believe in adding more to our law. Okay. We have enough law. The National Assembly should be big enough. If you take your mind back, there was a particular money that the president began to use. I think it was sent for this purchase of equipment or to come or something. I remember that Senator Orohide stood up in the National Assembly. They shut him down that we must go ahead, let's impeach the president. I think that was the only person, and Senator Abaribe, that have been able to stand up to be able to talk and said security issue. We didn't appoint chief for security chiefs. We voted for the president, right? And they said if they fail, we should stone them. The time to stone them is now. But the question is that apart from these two persons I've mentioned, how many persons are in the case of Dino Melaye and Shehu Sani, and they make sure, this same government make sure that they remove those people that are opposing them. So
the government removed them, or they lost the election.
No, it is not. You remember that? You remember El-Rufai said something. He said the president told me to remove Shehu Sani, and I told him that I don't have the money to pursue that.
That was the former senator.
Yes,
Kaduna Central.
He said, the guy is opposing me. Go and remove him. And he said, I remind Mr. President that Dino Melaye, the money they spent on that one, that the governor of that state spent to go and remove him, at the end of the day it was unnecessary futility. El-Rufai said, I don't have that money. We will rather wait for election to come and use the poll to remove him than to make money available to remove him. That is if El-Rufai can say something. All of you know how close El-Rufai is to the president. And the presidency didn't come out and deny that I didn't tell him to remove Shehu Sani. But eventually, you saw that he waited as he said, and they removed Shehu Sani. Today, the two voices who export things and bring to question what the National Assembly to be saying, everybody sat down today. So I don't believe the National Assembly should be doing additional law. They should stand up now, starting with what we have said. Somebody said I fed the children with billions of naira, and the National Assembly have not called the person to ask how did you feel them while they are still at home with their children.
So in a nutshell, what
they should wake up, not even constitutional review,
to look at the law
and enforce
instead of creating
another new one.
More laws. Yeah, I think really the point here is institutional thinking, institutional approach to solving all of these problems. Those are the points, I mean, amongst other things that Bishop Austin Igbasa is making on the program. Bishop, thank you so much. We are so grateful
thank you so much
for having you join us on the program this week. This is where we're living it, and I'm sure it's a fine place until we'll find reasons to push the conversation further. I'm Uyi Agbomofoegbe. Thank you for being a part of the program this week. Our coverage on ITV continues.